Let me tell you a story about starting little and starting local. Like many other photographers, when I first began, I wanted to be at the top, and I really wasn't thinking about all the different jobs, roles, or even steps to success. I thought I'd take great photos, people would love them, and they would buy them. Well, that isn't reality. That's just the truth. It's not real. So I left London after learning from three of the best photographers in the world, and I came back to West Texas, dusty West Texas, and I'm sitting around thinking, okay, what am I going to do and how am I going to achieve the goals that I've set out for myself? Well, also at that point, I was still fine-tuning my photography, and so I would trundle around town, downtown, landscapes, everywhere, just taking photo after photo after photo. And I kept thinking, what am I going to do with these photos? How am I going to achieve my goals? And I have a rather creative marketing mind, and so I think big. And so I thought to myself, okay, I could make calendars, I could make note cards. Well, that's not going to get me very far. And I could get my photos into a local magazine, which I did. Very easy to do, actually. You just pick up the phone or show up at their office and say, hi, I'm Mark, and I think you should work with me. Or I'd like to work with you. That's probably more proper. I also knew people in the media, whether it was television or newspaper, so it was very easy for me to have that contact. And I suggest to you to build a relationship with the media. And there were also entertainment magazine, which I also contributed to. And these things helped. I was able to put them all onto my resume, CV, etc. But it wasn't until I was in the bookstore and I'm having a look around, and I always go to the photography section to have a look at books for inspiration or see what's new. And as I'm looking, I'm saying and noticing that there is no book on my city. None. Zero. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be the person to do that book, not knowing the first thing about book publishing. And so, very excited, I rushed home and I'm thinking, how do I make this book? I want to make a prototype. I want to make a sample that I can send to book publishers, because I know that they are going to love this book, and because there's no other book, everyone's going to want to do it. Well, I go home, I do that book, make a prototype, and I also investigate various photography book publishers that really focused regionally. You know, I wasn't going after a big Random House or Rizzoli Books. That would have been a mistake. And so I had my list, and then I have this prototype of this book that I thought was so wonderful. And I sent it off to, I don't know how many now, but publishers. And I kept the letters because I got a lot of rejections. No, no, thank you, but no, no, no. But I didn't let that discourage me. I kept thinking, this book needs to be done. I'm on a mission. Well, I returned to the bookstore, and it just hit me because there is the manager whom I had known for years. And so I tell her about the book, and she says very nicely, oh, well, yes, bring it to me and let me have a look. So the very next day, I rush back and I give her the book, and she looks through it and she says, wow, this isn't what I expected. Next week, I'm going to the Texas Book Festival. Do you mind if I take it with me? And I said, oh, God, okay, sure. I'd love that. So she did. She took it, and she had a great connection with a book publisher that within a week's time contacted me and said, "We want to do your book. Can we send you a contract?" And I cannot begin to tell you the excitement that I felt. And I probably almost fell over when that happened. And the cool thing about that whole process is the contract for the book showed up on Christmas Eve, which really was one of the best Christmas presents I could have ever gotten. Now, long story short, this book was published in less than a year. It was on the bookshelves in the bookstore, which is uncommon. Normally it takes 2 to 3 years. And so I got lucky. And this book sold out of its first printing within the first 3 months and became a bestseller and the fastest selling book the publisher had ever had. Well, you can just imagine what that sort of opportunity and that sort of occurrence did for a photography career. When you have a book that is in a bookstore that people can pick up and they can look at and your name is on it, it immediately kind of elevates you to a different level. Not that I think that I'm a better photographer because of it, but other people perceive you that way. And so this book became a stepping stone to the next goal that I had. It also acted as a stepping stone to the next book that I did, which also the process was much longer, but the result again was a best-selling book. It sold out of its first printing within the first 3 months, and it became was named one of the top books in Texas for the year. Totally unexpected. And again, it just elevated. And when I would go out to book signings is when it really hit me how people perceived me. And people were asking to take their photo with me and wanted my autograph on other things. And it was very sort of strange. But these things do help, and they will help you to achieve your next success. So when I do say start little and start local, I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking because I've been through the very same thing. Now, I'm a big thinker. I set my goals high. Some people say I'm an overachiever, but the truth is that if I can do this, you can do this too. And I would love to hear your stories and your success stories as you go along in your photography career.